You look like you needed this. A stranger's voice cuts through the rain, his umbrella shielding a sobbing Kira from Chicago's storm. Imagine a heartbroken black woman, her gold silk dress soaked, kneeling on a dark street after a brutal betrayal. A kind act sparks a connection that could change everything. But what if he's a billionaire hiding in plain sight? Where are you listening from? Chicago, New York, or somewhere across the globe? What do you think happens when two worlds collide in a single moment of compassion? Will Kira find love or face more pain? Subscribe to catch our latest stories and share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Stay with us. Will a rainy night lead to redemption or heartbreak? Your guesses fuel our journey. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button for more tales of courage and love. The Chicago night pressed against Kira Thompson like a heavy, unyielding shroud, the air thick with the promise of rain. At 28, she was a vision of resilience and grace, her pale gold silk dress catching the dim glow of streetlights along Michigan Avenue. The fabric hugged her curves, shimmering faintly as she moved, her high heels clicking unevenly on the wet pavement, a rhythm of defiance against the storm brewing in her heart. Hours earlier, she had walked into a candlelit restaurant, her pulse quickening with hope. Derek Hayes, her boyfriend of 2 years, had texted her to meet him there, his words cryptic but laced with a promise that had her dreaming of a ring. Instead, she found betrayal, sharp and public, slicing through her like a winter wind. The restaurant, a sleek haven of clinking glasses and murmured conversations, had felt warm when Kira arrived. She'd chosen the gold dress deliberately, its soft hue a nod to the future she envisioned. Bright, bold hers. Derek sat at their usual corner table, his handsome face unreadable under the flickering light. Kira's smile faltered as she approached, sensing something amiss in his rigid posture. "Kira, it's over," he said, his voice loud enough to turn heads at nearby tables. The words landed like a slap, but before she could respond, a woman in a red dress, blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, slid into the seat beside him. "This is Lauren, my new girlfriend," Derek announced, his eyes never leaving Kira's. Then, as if to twist the knife, he leaned in and kissed Lauren, a deep, deliberate kiss that echoed with finality. The room seemed to tilt, the soft hum of diners turning to whispers, their stares prickling Kira's skin like needles. She stood frozen, her breath shallow, then turned and fled, her heels slipping on the polished floor, her pride crumbling with every step. Now alone on Michigan Avenue, the sky unleashed its fury, as if mocking her pain. Rain fell in relentless sheets, soaking the silk dress until it clung to her like a second skin, heavy and cold. Her carefully styled curls, once a crown of confidence, plastered to her face, dripping water into her eyes. Kira's heart pounded, each beat a reminder of Derek's cruelty, the public humiliation, the way Lauren's red lips curved into a smug smile. She walked blindly, the city's neon lights blurring through her tears, her high heels faltering on the slick pavement. One strap of her sandal loosened, catching on a crack, and she stumbled, dropping to one knee with a sharp gasp. The concrete bit into her skin, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the ache in her chest. Kneeling there, rain pooling around her, she fumbled to retie the strap, her fingers trembling. "Why me?" she whispered, her voice lost in the storm's roar, tears blending with the rain. Kira's mind replayed the restaurant scene in torturous detail. Derek's cold eyes, Lauren's triumphant glance, the diner's whispers that branded her a fool. She'd given him 2 years, believed in his promises, and ignored the red flags. At 28, she was a rising interior designer, her talent turning heads in Chicago's competitive scene. Yet here she was, broken on a sidewalk, her dreams of love shattered. The rain was merciless, seeping into her bones, chilling her to the core. She hugged herself, trying to hold together the pieces of her dignity, but the weight of betrayal was too much. She sobbed, a raw, guttural sound that mingled with the drumming rain, her body shaking as she tied the strap with numb fingers. A shadow fell over her, soft but sudden, blocking the rain's assault. Kira looked up, startled, her vision blurred by tears and water. A man stood above her, holding a large black umbrella that cast a protective dome against the storm. His face was striking, sharp jawline, deep green eyes that held a quiet strength, and a calm that seemed to hush the chaos around them. He wore a tailored black suit, now slightly damp at the shoulders, but his presence felt like a lighthouse in her tempest. "You look like you needed this," he said, his voice warm yet steady, carrying a gentleness that pierced through her despair. Kira blinked, raindrops clinging to her lashes. I, I'm fine," she stammered, though her chattering teeth and shaking hands betrayed her lie. He crouched slightly, bringing his face closer to hers, the umbrella shielding them both. "Let me help you up," he offered, extending a hand. His grip was firm, grounding, as he helped her to her feet. The warmth of his touch contrasted sharply with the cold soaking her skin. "There's a cafe just down the street," he said, gesturing ahead. "Let's get you out of this rain. I'm Liam." Kira hesitated, her instincts warring. Chicago wasn't a city where strangers offered help without strings, especially not to a black woman kneeling in the rain. But Liam's eyes held no agenda, only a quiet concern that felt like a lifeline. She nodded, clutching his hand as they walked. The umbrella a shared sanctuary. The cafe was a small, cozy haven, its windows fogged from the warmth inside. Liam held the door, and Kira stepped in, the scent of coffee and fresh bread wrapping around her like a blanket. They sat by a window, rain streaking the glass, and ordered steaming mugs of coffee. Kira's hands wrapped around hers, soaking in the warmth. "I'm Kira," she said softly, her voice still shaky. Liam leaned forward, his gaze steady. "Rough night?" he asked, not prying but inviting. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Derek's betrayal, the public kiss, the shame that burned hotter than the coffee in her hands. Liam listened, his eyes never wavering, no judgment, just a presence that felt safe. "He doesn't deserve you," he said finally, his tone firm but kind. "Someone who'd do that, he's the one who's lost." Kira managed a small smile, her first that night. The weight of the evening didn't vanish, but Liam's words were a spark in the dark. "You're kind," she said, glancing at his suit, now slightly rumpled from the rain. "I owe you for this. Let me treat you to dinner sometime, to say thanks." Liam chuckled, scribbling his number on a napkin. "I'll hold you to that." He slid it across the table, his smile genuine, unguarded. As Kira tucked the napkin into her purse, her fingers brushed the damp silk of her dress, a reminder of the night's pain, but also of this unexpected kindness. For the first time in hours, she felt a flicker of hope, fragile but real, like a star breaking through Chicago's stormy sky. The Chicago morning dawned gray, the city's skyline shrouded in mist as Kira Thompson stood before her bedroom mirror, smoothing the lapels of her navy blazer. At 28, she carried herself with a quiet strength, her dark eyes reflecting both determination and the lingering sting of last night's betrayal. Her gold silk dress, now crumpled in the laundry basket, was a painful reminder of Derek's public humiliation, his cold announcement, the kiss with Lauren, the whispers that had chased her into the rain. Yet amidst the ache, a stranger's kindness lingered. Liam's umbrella, his steady voice, the napkin with his number tucked in her purse. Today, Kira had a job to do. A prestigious commission to design a penthouse in Chicago's Gold Coast, a chance to rebuild her dreams as an interior designer. She couldn't let heartbreak derail her. Her best friend Maya had been ecstatic when Kira landed the project. "This is it, Kay," Maya had said over coffee, her braids swinging as she leaned forward. "This penthouse could put your name on every mood board in Chicago." Kira had nodded, forcing a smile, but her heart was heavy. Derek's betrayal still clawed at her, each memory a fresh wound. She adjusted her pencil skirt, grabbed her portfolio, and headed out, determined to focus. The Gold Coast building loomed like a glass monolith, its sleek facade reflecting the city's restless energy. The doorman, a stout man with a kind smile, ushered her to the penthouse elevator. As the doors slid open, Kira's breath caught, her portfolio nearly slipping from her hands. There, in a sprawling, minimalist apartment, stood Liam, the man from the rain-soaked night. He was casual today, in jeans and a gray sweater, petting a golden retriever that bounded toward Kira with a wagging tail. "Kira?" Liam's green eyes widened, a mix of surprise and warmth lighting his face. "You're the designer?" Kira laughed, the sound bubbling up despite her nerves. "And you're my client?" The coincidence felt like a twist of fate, as if Chicago's stormy streets had conspired to bring them back together. The dog, Max, nudged her hand, his fur soft and warm, and Kira knelt to pet him, her tension easing. "This is Max," Liam said, ruffling the dog's ears. He's the real boss here. The penthouse was stunning, but stark. White walls, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, and little furniture beyond a leather sofa and a dog bed in the corner. Sunlight filtered through the mist, casting a soft glow on the bare space. Kira's designer instincts kicked in, her mind already sketching possibilities. Warm mahogany floors, bold textile accents, cozy nooks to soften the sterility. "It's beautiful," she said, turning to Liam, "but it needs a soul." He nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "That's why I hired you. I want a home, not a showroom." They toured the space, Kira's heels clicking on the hardwood as she jotted notes in her portfolio. Liam followed, his presence steady but unintrusive, his suggestions thoughtful, more about feeling than flash. "Maybe something warm here," he said, pointing to the living area, "like a place you'd want to linger with a book." Kira glanced at him, surprised by his intuition. Most clients demanded grandeur. Liam wanted authenticity. As they moved to the dining area, Kira's heel caught on a loose rug, and she stumbled, her portfolio slipping. Liam's hands shot out, catching her by the waist, his grip firm yet gentle. "Careful," he said, a playful glint in his eyes, their faces inches apart. Kira's breath hitched, a spark of electricity coursing through her. "Thanks," she murmured, flushing as she steadied herself, his touch lingering in her mind. They resumed, laughing when Max interrupted with a squeaky toy, dropping it at Kira's feet. "He's got opinions too," Liam teased, tossing the toy for Max to chase. Kira noticed the apartment's sparse decor. No flashy art, just a few framed photos on a shelf. Liam hiking in a forest, laughing with Max on a beach. "You don't seem like the penthouse type," she said, half teasing, testing the waters. Liam shrugged, a hint of vulnerability in his smile. "I grew up in a small house, shared a room with my brother. This place, it's just where I landed. I like keeping things real." His honesty disarmed her, a stark contrast to Derek's polished arrogance, his need to flaunt. As they brainstormed, Akira's vision took shape. Deep green curtains to frame the lake view, a reclaimed wood dining table, art that told stories. Liam listened intently, his questions sharp but kind, drawing out her passion. "You love this," he said, watching her sketch a layout. "It's not just a job for you." Kira paused, her pencil hovering. "It's who I am," she said softly. "Designing spaces. It's about creating homes where people feel seen." Liam's eyes held hers, a quiet understanding passing between them. For a moment, the room felt smaller, the air charged with something unspoken. The hour passed too quickly, their conversation flowing like the lake outside. Kira noticed the absence of Derek's shadow in her thoughts, Liam's presence a balm to her wounded heart. As she packed her portfolio, now filled with notes and sketches, Liam leaned against the counter. Max sprawled at his feet. "Still waiting on that dinner," he said, his tone light but his eyes serious. Kira grinned, a warmth spreading through her. "Soon, I promise. I owe you more than coffee now." She gestured to Max, who wagged his tail. "Maybe Max can pick the place." Driving home, Chicago's streets bustling below, Kira felt lighter. The city, once a cage of pain, now held a flicker of possibility. Liam's simplicity, his jeans, his dog, his unguarded smile, challenged her defenses. She'd been hurt, publicly shamed, yet here was a man who saw her, not her wounds. The napkin with his number sat in her purse, a small promise of something new. As she parked, Maya's words echoed, "This could put your name on the map." But it wasn't just the penthouse job that felt like a turning point. It was Liam, and the quiet hope he'd ignited, pulling Kira from the rain-soaked wreckage of her past toward a horizon she couldn't yet see. The Chicago evening hummed with possibility, the city's pulse sinking with Kira Thompson's quickening heartbeat as she stepped into a dimly lit jazz club in Wicker Park. At 28, she was a vision in an emerald dress that hugged her curves, its deep green catching the glow of neon signs outside. 2 weeks had passed since her rainy night on Michigan Avenue and the unexpected reunion with Liam at his Gold Coast penthouse. Their professional meetings, designing his home with warm woods and bold textiles, had blurred into something more, a fragile connection that both thrilled and terrified her. Tonight was their first official date, and Kira's nerves danced like the saxophone notes spilling from the stage. Liam waited at a corner table, his casual sweater a stark contrast to the tailored suit from their first encounter. His green eyes lit up as he saw her, standing to pull out her chair. "You look incredible," he said, his voice low, carrying a warmth that steadied her. Kira smiled, her fingers brushing the napkin from that rainy night, now a talisman in her purse. The club was intimate, filled with the soft clink of glasses and the soulful wail of a trumpet. They ordered drinks, whiskey for him, a mojito for her, and fell into easy conversation, the music wrapping around them like a cocoon. Liam's questions were gentle but probing, drawing out pieces of Kira's world she rarely shared. "What made you choose design?" he asked, leaning forward, genuinely curious. Kira sipped her drink, the mint sharp on her tongue. "Growing up, our apartment was small, cramped. I'd rearrange furniture to make it feel like home. It was my way of taking control." She paused, vulnerability creeping in. "As a black woman, I've had to fight to be seen in this industry. Design, it's my voice." Liam nodded, his gaze unwavering. "I see you," he said simply, the words landing like a promise. Kira's heart fluttered, Derek's betrayal a distant shadow in this moment. He shared his own story, his voice softening. "I'm Liam Reynolds, CEO of Nexus Innovations," he admitted, almost reluctantly. "But I don't live for the title. I started coding in my parents' garage, dreaming of building something real. Now people see the billions, not me." Kira understood. Her own dreams had often been overshadowed by others' assumptions. "So you escaped to jazz clubs?" she teased, lightening the mood. Liam laughed, a sound that warmed her. "Exactly. No boardrooms here." The music shifted, a slow, sultry melody pulling couples to the dance floor. Liam extended a hand. "Dance with me?" Kira hesitated, then took it, his touch sending a spark through her. They swayed, his hand warm on her lower back, her cheek brushing his shoulder. The world narrowed to the rhythm of their steps, the scent of his cologne, cedar and spice, mingling with the club's smoky air. For the first time since Derek's cruelty, Kira felt safe, her heart daring to trust. But as they left the club, hand in hand, the night's magic shattered. A familiar voice cut through the cool air. "Kira, chasing rich guys now." Derek stood outside, Lauren clinging to his arm, her red dress a cruel echo of that restaurant night. His smirk was venomous, his eyes glinting with malice. "Moved on fast, huh? Just climbing the ladder?" Kira froze, her breath catching, the humiliation rushing back. The street seemed to close in, and passers-by glancing curiously. Derek's words were a blade, slicing at the confidence she'd begun to rebuild. Liam stepped forward, his calm demeanor now edged with steel. "You're Derek," he said, his tone deceptively mild. "From my marketing team at Nexus." Derek's smugness faltered, his face paling as recognition hit. "Mr. Reynolds?" he stammered, caught off guard. Liam's eyes hardened, his voice low but commanding. "Insult her again, and you're done. Clear?" The threat hung in the air, sharp and final. Derek muttered a weak apology, pulling Lauren away as they retreated into the night, her heels clicking in hasty retreat. Kira's heart pounded, torn between gratitude and embarrassment. The confrontation had ripped open old wounds. Derek's cruelty a reminder of her vulnerability. Liam turned to her, his expression softening. "You okay?" he asked, squeezing her hand. Kira nodded, though her voice trembled. "You didn't have to do that." Liam's gaze was steady. "I wanted to. You deserve better than him." They walked in silence, the city's lights blurring as Kira processed the moment. Derek's words had stung, but Liam's defense felt like armor, shielding her from the pain. Later, in the quiet of Liam's penthouse, they sat on his leather sofa, Max the golden retriever sprawled nearby. Kira opened up, her voice raw. "Derek, he made me feel small, like I wasn't enough. Being a black woman in design, I've heard it all. Too bold, too loud, too different." Liam listened, his hand resting lightly on hers. "You're enough, Kira," he said, his voice firm. "More than enough." He leaned closer, and their first kiss was soft, tentative, a spark igniting in the quiet. As Kira pulled back, her heart raced, fear and hope warring within her. Liam's presence was a beacon, but could she trust it? The night held its breath, promising something new, yet shadowed by her lingering doubts. The Chicago skyline glittered like a constellation of ambition, but for Kira Thompson, The city's brilliance felt like a spotlight exposing her deepest fears. At 28, she stood in a borrowed sapphire gown, its sequins catching the chandelier's glow at the Nexus Innovations Gala, held in a sleek downtown ballroom. The past 2 weeks with Liam Reynolds had been a whirlwind. Late-night talks in his penthouse, walks with Max along Lake Michigan, a first kiss that sparked hope in her wounded heart. Yet as she stood beside Liam, his hand a steady anchor on her arm, Kira felt the weight of 1,000 eyes. Chicago's elite, tech moguls, investors, socialites, whispered behind crystal flutes, their gazes dissecting the black designer on the billionaire's arm. Was she enough for his world, or was she merely a fleeting curiosity? The ballroom was a study in opulence. Marble floors, cascading floral arrangements, and a string quartet weaving elegance into the air. Liam, dashing in a tailored tuxedo, leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. "You're stealing the show," he murmured, his green eyes bright with pride. Kira forced a smile, her heart racing. The gown lent by her friend Maya felt like a costume, a fragile shield against the scrutiny. She'd fought for her place in the design world, her talent earning her this commission for Liam's penthouse. But tonight, she was no longer just Kira Thompson, designer. She was Liam's date, a headline waiting to happen. As they mingled, Liam introduced her to colleagues, his voice warm with respect. "Kira's transforming my place into a home," he told a silver-haired executive, who nodded politely but eyed her with curiosity. K favorites. Kira's smile was tight, her confidence wavering under their stares. She sipped champagne, trying to focus on Liam's steady presence, but the room's whispers buzzed like static. "Who is she?" "Reynolds' new project." The words weren't spoken, but Kira felt them, sharp as thorns. Her past with Derek, his public betrayal, haunted her, amplifying her fear of being seen as an opportunist. The tension snapped when a familiar voice slithered through the crowd. "You don't belong here, Kira." Derek Hayes stood before her, his suit slightly wrinkled, his eyes glassy with alcohol. Lauren, his girlfriend, was absent, but his malice was as sharp as ever. The crowd parted slightly, sensing drama. "Climbing the social ladder fast, huh?" he taunted, loud enough to draw attention. "From delivery apps to this?" Kira's stomach twisted, the memory of his restaurant betrayal flooding back. Her hand tightened around her glass, but before she could speak, Liam stepped forward, his posture rigid with controlled fury. "Derek," Liam said, his voice low and dangerous, "you're done at Nexus. Pack your things." The room hushed, heads turning. Derek's smirk faltered, his bravado crumbling under Liam's authority. "You can't," he started, but Liam cut him off. "I can, and I will. Leave." Derek's face reddened, but he backed away, the crowd swallowing him. Kira's heart pounded, gratitude warring with humiliation. Liam's defense was fierce, but it underscored her vulnerability. She was an outsider in this glittering world. As they moved to the dance floor, Liam pulled her close, his hand warm on her back. "Don't let him get to you," he whispered. "They're just jealous." Kira nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. Was she a spectacle, a story for their gossip? The music swelled, and she leaned into Liam, trying to anchor herself in his certainty. But the whispers followed her, their weight heavier than the gown. The next morning, Kira's phone buzzed relentlessly. Notifications flooded her screen, headlines screaming across Chicago's media: "Billionaire's mystery date? Designer or gold digger? Who is Kira Thompson, Liam Reynolds' new flame?" Bloggers had dug into her past, posting screenshots of her early design projects with scathing commentary. "Amateur work," one wrote. "Is she using Reynolds to revive a failed career?" Social media was worse, strangers calling her an opportunist, a climber, their words laced with racial undertones. Kira's hands trembled as she scrolled, each comment a dagger. Maya, her friend, called, her voice urgent. "Ignore them, Kay. They're vultures." But the noise was deafening, drowning out her resolve. Alone in her apartment, Kira stared at the gown, now draped over a chair. Last night, she'd felt like she belonged beside Liam. Now she wasn't sure. Was she a rebound? A distraction from his corporate life? The headlines echoed Derek's taunts, amplifying her deepest fear, that she didn't fit in Liam's world. She texted him, her fingers hesitating. "I need time." His reply was instant. "I'm here when you're ready." I'm sorry. Tears welled as she curled up on her couch, the city's hum outside a reminder of her exposure. Derek's cruelty had been personal. This was public, a spectacle threatening to unravel her. Kira's mind churned. Liam's kiss, his fierce defense, had felt real. But could she trust it? Her past with Derek taught her that love could turn to betrayal in an instant. She thought of Maya's words. You chased your dream once. Don't let fear win. But fear was a powerful enemy, whispering that she was a fool to believe she could bridge their worlds. The sapphire gown shimmered in the morning light, a symbol of a night she wasn't sure she could reclaim. As Kira buried her face in her hands, the silence of her apartment was louder than the gala's chatter, each doubt a shadow threatening to eclipse the spark she'd felt with Liam. The Chicago afternoon cast a golden glow over Michigan Avenue, the city's pulse vibrant yet distant as Kira Thompson stood in her small apartment, staring at her phone. At 28, she was a woman caught between courage and fear, her heart still raw from the media storm that had branded her a gold digger, an opportunist clinging to Liam Reynolds' billionaire world. The headlines, fueled by Derek's venom, had shaken her, each cruel comment a reminder of her public humiliation at his hands. Yet Liam's text, "I'm here when you're ready. I'm sorry," burned in her mind, a beacon through the fog of doubt. Her best friend Maya's words echoed, "You chased your dream once. Don't let fear win." Kira's fingers trembled as she typed an email to Liam. Meet me at Michigan Avenue, 6 p.m. Tonight she would face her fears, or let them consume her. The day crawled, each hour heavy with indecision. Kira paced her apartment, the sapphire gown from the gala still draped over a chair, a silent witness to her unraveling. She'd spent weeks building something with Liam, late-night talks, shared laughter, a kiss that felt like a promise. But the media's scrutiny and Derek's taunts had cracked her resolve. Was she enough for Liam's world, or was she a fool to believe she could belong? The memory of his fierce defense at the gala, his dismissal of Derek, warmed her. But doubt lingered like a shadow. She slipped into a simple black dress, its understated elegance grounding her, and headed to Michigan Avenue, the street where their story began in the rain. The sky was clear now, a golden sunset painting the city in hues of hope. Liam stood by a lamppost, distinct in a tailored coat, his green eyes scanning the crowd. When he saw Kira, his face softened, a mix of relief and uncertainty. "I thought you might not come," he said, his voice low, carrying the weight of their unspoken tension. Kira's heart thudded, her throat tight. "I almost didn't," she admitted, stepping closer. The street hummed with evening traffic, but the world narrowed to the space between them. "Derek's been spreading lies," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "The press, the headlines, they're overwhelming. I'm scared, Liam. Scared I don't fit in your world." Liam's eyes held hers unflinching. "You fit with me," he said, his words a quiet anchor. "That's what matters." He gestured toward a bench, and they sat, the city's buzz fading as Kira poured out her fears. "I've fought to be seen my whole life," she said, her voice raw. "As a black woman, I've been told I'm too much, not enough, never right. Derek made me feel small, and now the world's doing it too." Her hands clenched, the weight of the headlines pressing down. "I'm terrified of being judged, of falling for you and not being enough." Liam listened, his silence a canvas for her truth. When she finished, he took her hand, his touch warm and steady. "That night we met," he said, his voice soft but firm, "I was coming from a brutal board meeting. Rivals, people like Derek, were circling, trying to tear down what I've built. I was doubting everything, Kira. Then I saw you, kneeling in the rain, strong despite your pain." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "You reminded me why I started Nexus. To create something real, not just chase power. You're not just enough. You're extraordinary." Kira's breath caught, tears pricking her eyes. "I'm not strong," she whispered. "I'm terrified." Liam's smile was gentle, disarming. "That's what courage is, being scared and showing up anyway." He reached into his coat, pulling out a small velvet box. Kira's heart stopped as he opened it, revealing a delicate diamond ring, its facets catching the sunset's glow. "Marry me, Kira," he said, his voice steady but laced with vulnerability. "Not because of who I am, not because of Nexus or the headlines. Marry me because of who we are together." The world seemed to pause, the city's hum fading to a whisper. Kira stared at the ring, her mind racing. Derek's betrayal had left scars. His public kiss with Lauren, his taunts, the way he'd made her feel invisible. She'd built walls to protect herself, but Liam's love was dismantling them, brick by brick. The headlines, the whispers, the fear of not belonging. They loomed like storm clouds, but Liam's eyes held a promise of shelter. "What if it's not enough?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "What if I lose myself in your world?" Liam leaned closer, his hand cupping her cheek. "You won't lose yourself," he said. "You're Kira Thompson, the woman who turns empty spaces into homes, who sees beauty where others don't. I'm not asking you to fit into my world. I'm asking you to build one with me." His words struck deep, echoing her dreams of creating something real. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not from pain, but from the weight of possibility. She thought of Maya, of her resilience, of the night Liam's umbrella had shielded her from more than just rain. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with conviction. Liam slid the ring onto her finger, its cool metal grounding her. He pulled her into his arms and their kiss was fierce, a vow sealed in the fading light. The city moved around them, cars honking, pedestrians rushing, but Kira felt still, anchored by Liam's belief in her. Fear hadn't vanished. It lingered like a shadow, but it no longer ruled her. As they stood, his coat draped over her shoulders in a gesture that echoed their first meeting, Kira felt the stirrings of a new beginning. Whatever lay ahead, the press, the doubters, the weight of their different worlds, she would face it with Liam, not as a savior, but as a partner, their love a flame ignited in the heart of Chicago's storm. The Chicago air carried the crisp promise of autumn as Kira Thompson stood in a historic garden, the September sun casting a golden halo around her. At 28, she was radiant in an ivory gown, its lace tracing her curves like a love letter to her resilience. Today was her wedding day, a moment she'd scarcely dared to dream of after Derek's betrayal and the media's cruel spotlight. Liam Reynolds, the billionaire who'd first offered her an umbrella in a storm, waited at the altar, his simple black suit a testament to the humility that had won her heart. The garden, tucked in Chicago's heart, bloomed with roses and ivy, a sanctuary from the city's relentless hum. Kira's breath caught as she walked toward Liam, her diamond ring glinting, a symbol of the leap of faith they'd taken together. The past months had been a crucible. After Liam's proposal on Michigan Avenue, news of their engagement had leaked, likely through Derek's spiteful whispers at Nexus Innovations. Headlines had screamed, "Billionaire's fiancé," from designer to bride. Social media had been merciless, labeling Kira a gold digger, dissecting her blackness, her ambition, her worth. Yet Liam had stood by her, his belief unwavering. Today, as she reached him, his green eyes held hers, steady and warm. "You're my home," he whispered, taking her hand. Kira's heart swelled, the weight of doubt lifting. Maya, her maid of honor, stood nearby, her braids adorned with tiny flowers, whispering, "You did it, Kay. You found your light." Their vows were raw, honest. Kira spoke of resilience, of choosing love over fear, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "You saw me when I felt invisible," she said, her words carrying over the small gathering of close friends and family. Liam promised to be her partner, not her savior, his voice thick with emotion. "We'll build something real together," he said, sliding a gold band beside her engagement ring. The officiant's words faded as they kissed, a fierce, joyful seal of their commitment, the applause of their loved ones blending with the rustle of leaves. Chicago's skyline loomed beyond, but in this moment it was just them, two souls who'd found each other in a storm. Months later, Kira stood in the lobby of Nexus Innovations, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Her design for Liam's penthouse had transformed it into a haven. Mahogany floors, vibrant art, sunlight streaming through tall windows. The project had catapulted her career, her firm now a rising star in Chicago's design scene. Today she was presenting her latest commission, a wellness center for Nexus employees, a space of warm wood and cozy nooks that echoed her vision of home. Liam sat in the front row, his smile proud but unobtrusive, letting her shine. The executives' applause was warm, their curiosity replaced by respect. Kira felt a quiet triumph, not as Liam's fiancé, but as Kira Thompson designer. After the presentation, her phone buzzed. Maya's text read, "Get to the lobby now." Kira descended, her heart light, and found Maya waiting beside a large rectangular package. Open it, Maya urged, her grin infectious. Kira tore away the wrapping, revealing a framed architectural digest cover. Revolutionary workplace design. Kira Thompson redefines corporate spaces. Her eyes widened, her breath catching. There's more, Maya said, handing her a small envelope. Inside was a note in Liam's familiar handwriting. Proud of you, not because you're with me, but because you're extraordinary on your own. Meet me at the ferry. Kira drove to the Lake Michigan ferry dock, the same place their story had shifted months ago, though no rain fell today. Liam stood in the sunlight, Max the golden retriever at his side, tail wagging. Congratulations, Liam said, his smile soft but radiant. Kira held up the frame cover. Thanks for this, she said, her voice warm. Not sure my apartment has space for it. Liam's eyes twinkled as he pulled a small key from his pocket. About that, he said. It's a studio for your firm. No Nexus ties, just potential. Kira hesitated, her independence fierce. I can't accept. Liam cut her off, his tone playful but firm. You're not. I'm investing. I expect returns. He winked. Think of it as interest on an umbrella. She laughed, the sound free and unguarded. You're impossible. Liam stepped closer, his voice softening. I'm practical. You're brilliant. The Wellness Center boosted productivity by 30%. This isn't charity, it's smart business. Kira looked at him, the man who'd never tried to rescue her, only to empower her. Partners? She asked, taking the key, her ring catching the light. Partners, he said, sealing it with a kiss, Max barking in approval as the ferry horn sounded. Derek was a ghost now, fired from Nexus after his gala outburst, his malice fading into obscurity. Kira's world had shifted. She was no longer the woman kneeling in the rain, but a force, her designs shaping spaces, her love with Liam shaping her future. As they walked Max along the lake, the sunset painting the water gold, Kira felt the fear that once gripped her dissolve. Their story, born from a simple act of kindness, had grown into a partnership that defied judgment. Thank you for that night, she said, leaning into Liam. He kissed her forehead. Thank you for trusting me. Chicago stretched before them, a city of challenges and triumphs. But together they were unstoppable, their love a testament to the power of courage and connection. What would you do if a stranger's kindness sparked a journey from heartbreak to triumph? Kira and Liam's story began with an umbrella in a Chicago storm and grew into a love that defied doubt and judgment. Share your thoughts in the comments. How did their courage inspire you? Are you Team Kira, rooting for her resilience, or moved by Liam's quiet strength? Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what this story stirred in you. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Your support lights up our storytelling. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales of love and redemption. We can't wait to meet you again in the next chapter. Until then, keep chasing your light.